Three men and a multiverse of sci-fi's finest spacecraft, but which ones can claim to be the greatest ships ever? Welcome to Space Doc Jury.
Welcome to Space Doc Jury Episode 5. I'm Lee, and I'm bringing the USS Cygnus from the Black Hole.
I'm Peter, and I'm going to be covering Ready Rooms. The Draconia from Buck Rogers. Sorry, that was something else.
Yeah, no Ready Rooms. No Ready Rooms.
Nope. And I'm Andy, and I will be covering the Gloriana Class battleship, the Vengeful Spirit from Warhammer 40,000.
Nice. Cool. Well, there you go. So that's
You've probably all spotted the theme here. They're all cathedrals in space.
Yeah, slightly
big and pointy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going Gothic.
Yeah, American Gothic. Or is that a TV show? So anyway, welcome to Space Doc Jury, Episode 5. For those of you who are new to the cast, just know this is a podcast where we trump our spaceships and try and determine which ones are the best and the brightest in all the multiverse.
Using highly scientific formula.
Yeah, basically we wrote it on the back of a beer mat. And we do films, books, TV, comics, you name it.
If I could quote from Blackadder, animal, vegetable, or mineral will do anything to anything.
So yeah, so we're building up quite a list now. So
yes. Our cool wall is filling out nicely.
Exactly, and we've had a few losses in recent months, in recent weeks. So the current top 10 sounds like this. At number 10. We have The Eye in the Sky, The Odyssey, with 42 points.
Going down.
At number 9, we have, bizarrely, The X-Bomber, also at 42 points.
Why is that still there?
Don't ask me. At number 8, we have Slave 1, Vet's a Vet, at 43 points. And at number 7, we have The White Star, with 50 points. Stop it. At number 6, we have the Agamemnon, or the Omega Class Destroyer, at 54 points.
Section of doom.
I love my brick.
My brick.
At number 5, we have the SSV Normandy 1. Sorry, don't do that. Don't do that.
Moving on.
Yeah, with 57. With 57 points. At number 4, we have the USS Dustbuster. The Defiant, with 60
you were right
points.
the first time.
At number 3, we have Vader's big pointy phallic thing, the SSD Executor, which is 62 points. At number 2, we have the monstrous Battlestar Pegasus with 64 points. And sitting pretty at number 1 is the Borg Cube.
Oh.
Yeah, the Rubik's Cube. Yeah, basically the results of a car crusher. The Borg Cube with 67 points.
I don't know, but I got to say, I got a feeling that the Draconia might top it off the top of the leaderboard this week.
Is that right now?
Oh, you could paint it pink and call it a pig.
Powder dry, Peter. Powder dry.
Right. So, with the Borg sitting at the top, that's quite cool because last week I kind of crashed and burnt, pretty much like Alan did in the Eagle transporter, failing to get onto the core wall in any way, shape or form, unsurprisingly. So, unfortunately, I'm going first. So, I present to you, gentlemen and audience, the USS Cygnus from the Black Hole. Now, this ship was actually originally titled the United States Space Probe 1. The USS Cygnus was its a subtitle almost. The ship is 1.6 miles or 2.5 kilometers long, and has 6 defensive laser cannons and a tower. It's a science vessel. It's a science vessel. Stop it! It's a science vessel piloted by Dr. Reinhardt, who, along with all of his crew, vanished a number of years ago. Unfortunately, when the USS Palomino discovers it, it appears to be derelict in space and just hovering on the edge of the accretion disk of a black hole. The ship itself is basically just a cathedral in space, exactly how you described them earlier, Andy. And from the Japanese plans, which I've been dissecting all day, the ship has basically a laser dome, main engines, charging room, a number of small shuttles, a transport terminal, a length of a transporter tube the length of the ship, and a number of nuclear reactors to power it.
And several karaoke bars, I should think.
Yeah.
Oh, it's probably just the Japanese plans.
Yeah,
I just want to take a moment to acknowledge, ladies and gentlemen, the dedication of Lee here. He has become fluent in Japanese just to bring you the information about the USS Cygnus. I mean, there's only a limited amount of space there. He's forgotten his daughter's names, but he now knows that the Cygnus has a laser dome. And I think that's a golf clap right there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well done, Lee-san.
Thank you. Thank you. my katana fu is strong. No, I did actually have to literally take this scanned image and put it into the font, and then work out what characters were being put in there, and then put those into Google Translate. So it was quite a lot of stuff I had to lift from a Japanese poster book from 1978. Behind the scenes, the USS Cygnus was designed by a illustrator called Peter Ellenshaw, who conceived it in a piece of concept art and then later drafted it up to full-blown plans. There were 2 models of the Cygnus built, a little over 12 feet long, with sectional models built to a much larger scale for certain close-up shots. The 12-foot miniatures weighed 170 pounds each and were constructed primarily of brass and made completely from scratch, with EMA tubes and domes for detailing. Under this brass skeleton, there were sections of translucent plastic, built-in sections which housed 150 automotive light bulbs. The 2 models cost $100,000 each, which was a lot of money back in 1978, and took 12 to 15 people approximately a year to build. One of the 2 models was completely destroyed during filming the end sequence when the Cygnus descends into the black hole, and the other model...
They didn't use an actual black hole, did they?
No.
We're going for realism here.
Yeah,
we've lost 7 cameramen, but don't worry about that.
Yeah. There's a whole...
nothing.
I can see my house from here. Hold on. There's that Matthew McConaughey in a big orbiting library. Yeah. Anyway, the other model itself was stored in a prop store at Disney called the Boneyard, where eventually, due to a bad maintenance, it was massively water damaged, and eventually it was run over by a forklift truck.
And then backed over a couple of times just to make sure.
Yeah, the parts were eventually when it was all sort of foisted back into this box. This box basically got smashed up itself, and the parts were eventually stolen. Bits of this ship were eventually stolen by passers-by who found bits of it in the street outside. Yeah,
Not the dignity of it.
Not a lot of dignity in it. Apparently, the tower was recovered and was briefly in the Smithsonian Institute with a recreated model. But unfortunately, that also succumbed to the ravages of time, and no one bothered to...
Got run over by a bus or something.
Yeah, and basically no one bothered to repair it. The Cygnus itself, is basically an incredibly highly detailed model, and also it has a number of large engines on the sides, which were essentially pieces of copper piping that they would put light bulbs in and then paint over in the actual animation.
The old Red Dwarf technique.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, unfortunately for the Red Dwarf, this is like a good 10 to 15 years before the Red Dwarf, and so the fact
a good 10 to 15 times more expensive as well. To be fair.
Well, yeah, exactly. $100,000 is probably the cost of the entire series up to Series 7. So there you go. So shall we rate this thing?
Oh,
yes, let's do that.
Let's do that then. Well, the size, it's 2.5 kilometers long. So that's a pretty easy one to go for. We're getting an 11 for size. There.
Yep. Can't argue with that.
Can't argue with that. I've got to get my calculator up, otherwise I'm going to make a freaking hash of this. Hold on, a calc. There you go.
Wait, call Vincent.
Yeah, no. Let's never call Vincent. Right.
You prefer Bob?
Yes. Right, so size. Now, up to speed. The speed is purely subjective here. And,
for a change.
Yeah, but it had no FTL to speak of, and the machine and it's mentioned in the film that the ship just kind of powers itself off by rockets and it went off and these thrusters, the thing just kind of left the solar system and then disappeared. So it's not going faster than light, but it is under sort of propellant sort of moving, and the Japanese cross section, which I'm going to fall back on a lot in this, said it could go up to half the speed of light eventually. So the acceleration was terribly slow
with a tailwind.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm kind of aiming for here is I think it's kind of a 3 on speed.
So I think on sublight you could probably get yourself a 4, because if you're going half the speed of light, I'm assuming it's going to take you a few hours to cross the solar system, since it takes light. I don't know, I think it's half an hour to get to Pluto. So,
yeah,
I'd give you a 4 for sublight.
Okay, Pete.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'll go with Mr. Science. Yeah,
Mr. Science.
Oh, dear, this does not bode well for you later.
Yeah, Mr. Roboto. Right. Okay. So it's got nothing for FTL, because there is just simply nothing like it. It's not going to get there. Maneuverability, I think it's a flying brick.
I like my bricks.
Yeah, it's going nowhere. It can't even avoid asteroids that are coming from behind for an hour.
Yes. Giant bolt. One of those asteroids, I think, escaped from Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, they were actually they were luminously painted potatoes. A lot of them. So there you go, with bright light being shone at them. So I guess that's a 1.
Yep.
Really?
Flying brick. That gets you 1.
That gets me a 1.
It's going to be a running theme, that one, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Right, so we're on to firepower. Now, really, on the tower, there's these little aerial things that sort of stick out sort of about halfway down, like little aerial things that stick out like a frill around its neck. Those are apparently lasers. Yet when we see the lasers in the film, they're actually like little cannons, and they're sort of suspended underneath the canopy. So it's kind of a little hard to judge, but really, even when they fire the laser, they basically wing the Palomino and don't really destroy it. They kind of just disable one of its engines. So the firepower is pretty blooming low, to be honest.
Pants,
yeah.
I believe is the technical term.
I think the technical term is pants. The Japanese cross section, once again, refers to them as point defense lasers.
No, pant defense lasers. It's the pronunciation.
Yeah.
You got the kanji wrong there.
Well, what I'm trying to say is, I think they're there for defending the ship as opposed to attacking anything.
Well, that would make sense with it being a science ship, isn't it? So
yeah. So I don't know if we even want to count it as actually weaponry or defense, because,
well,
I think you double dip here, actually, don't you?
Yeah.
You could double dip. I think you could maybe argue a 1 or a 2, because even if it's meant, it does take offensive action. It fires on a ship poorly,
yes,
but it does it. So I think you can argue yourself a 1 or a 2. I'll let Peter can flip a coin and decide which one he wants.
Well, 1 we were going with if the ship didn't have any weapons, but it carried support craft.
Yeah.
So I think, therefore, you're going for a 2 at the lowest.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm happy giving you a 2 for that.
Cool. Okay. Well, look at them. Look at me powering ahead.
Hey! Look out, ball cube, here we come.
Yeah. As far as defense, well, yeah, as we said, it has no maneuverability. So it has no active defense. Well, it has a point defense system.
That's 4.
That's a 4.
Yeah.
That's
Point defense system was a 4. I think we might have to adjust our scaling of that so it's more a. And I think Peter mentioned this before when we did the Normandy one. It's you get a point for each of these rather than just having.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
You know, because we had this discussion with the Normandy sort of thing. It was that had stealth and ECM and all that, so that was worth with 2 sort of thing. So I think if we say with it having rather than just having the levels of 1, 2, and 3 like we've got in our thing, we just say
it's 1 point each.
1 point each for those sort of things. So I think in that case, you get 1.
Yep. Do you know what? I wasn't
the ever-modifying score system. I love this.
Look. It keeps you in Excel spreadsheets, Pete. Be happy.
Yes, it keeps me happy. I tell you.
I think one of our listeners had a suggestion recently that we should have a special on just the rules. It's been a podcast.
No, you don't want that. You really don't.
But we did. We had a special on the rules. It was a pub
went down the pub. We need another one. I want to go down the pub again.
We're going down the pub. Anyway, special. I don't think we have any special.
Oh, it's very special, but it's not getting anything for it.
As far as actual passive defense, well, it has no shields whatsoever.
It's tinfoil.
It's
demonstrably tinfoil.
It's demonstrably tinfoil, as basically pretty much everything that hits it doesn't get any resistance apart from slowing down through as it goes through the fuselage. So, yeah, it is proper tinfoil, so that gets nothing.
Just a thought on the special, though. Does the evil army of robot clones count for anything here with Maximilian and his blenders?
Well,
crew.
That would be crew, I think.
Is it crew? Because he's a robot, isn't he? Rather than a
but that was the whole point, wasn't it?
Yeah, we counted robots crew before, didn't we?
Okay.
Yeah, and it's actually referenced in the film that Reinhardt says that everyone left, so he made his robot crew.
Okay.
To control the ship. So yeah, I mean, as much as I'd like to whip the points out, I just can't in good conscience.
No, that's quite all right. So
so let's get on to realization.
So we just review. We got 1 for active defense, 0 for passive, and 0 for special. Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
And
so for realization. Now, say what you like about the ship as a design, because we'll get to that with cool. But I think this model is astounding in its level of detail.
Yep.
No arguments from me. No. When they turn the lights on, it's like looking at a Victorian train station. It's like something out of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Captain Nemo.
It's almost got a sort of steampunky aesthetic.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, I would like to ask for a 5 for the realization on the exterior, because
you can have it, sir.
Yeah, I think 5 definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. For the interior,
not so good.
It doesn't sort quite as well, does it?
It doesn't do quite as well. The problem is there is recognizable things inside, and the interior main bridge console that's on the top of the tower, that all works. That's
kind of cool.
Sense.
I mean, when you first see that, that's all kind of cool with the big screens and displays.
Yeah, and you can
and
actually...
it's a big bridge as well.
It is a big bridge, and you can definitely see it.
Yes.
You definitely know where it is. So, I mean, that bridge alone, and the way that's laid out, and the way it's all laid out inside the ship, and the travel tube that runs the length of the ship, which is that ridge that runs right down the middle.
Very reminiscent of another Gothic ship, which we won't be mentioning this week.
No, we won't. So I think that sort of stuff brings it up to like a 3, because it all clearly fits and you can see where it is on the ship. Where it goes wrong, and the only place where for me it goes wrong, is there's a bit when they're travelling from where the Palomino docks to the actual tower, and they're travelling on the travel tube that appears to be sort of outside of the ship that you simply can't see.
There is also a bit when they're trying to get to the supply ship after the Palomino is blown up, and it's quite obviously they're using heavy blankets for walls.
Yes. Oh yeah. There's definitely a case of the Superman 4s. We've run out of budget. Please just hang up some black cloth.
Personally, I'm happy to give you 3 for the interior because the bits that work really well.
Yeah. But it's by no means perfect.
Oh, no.
Some of the sets lack detail, really. If you compare it to the Star Wars ones, it's definitely nowhere near as good. And there are those big digital countdown readout things that look so dated now. It's like,
Yeah.
Though they did have flat screens, and they did have one falling off a wall, so it's pretty modern in that respect.
That's true, yeah. It's ahead of the curve.
So, let's get on to the science. I mean, it's not 100% away with the fairies. I mean, the science goes out the window when they hit the black hole. I mean, we've seen that now, The black hole doesn't really... Black holes we know now don't look like...
Whenever you get a black hole in any film,
yeah,
science goes out the window, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, except for Interstellar, where they actually modelled that whole...
I'm pretty sure you can't survive a black hole and end up behind a library.
No. That bit I agree with, but the way it looked... was
it looked good, but yeah.
Well, they actually... In doing the computer modelling, they actually learnt stuff about black holes and how they behave, which they then verified from observations. So, for Interstellar, yeah, absolutely.
I think Interstellar's going to get a 5 on the science.
Yeah. Well, apart from libraries, as you mentioned.
4. Yeah, 4. Okay, yeah. That's a spoiler for a future episode.
I have a quote, though, about the science.
Go on.
And this is from our dear friend Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, dear.
Oh, God.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, he deemed the film to be the least scientifically accurate film of all time. Critiquing the film, he noted, they not only got none of the physics right about falling into a black hole, had they gotten it right, it would have been a vastly more interesting movie. But this is Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he complains about literally everything.
Yeah.
So
normally when his Twitter feed goes quiet and no one's talking about him.
Yeah, no one's talking about a black hole at the minute. So
yeah, exactly. But as far as the Cygnus itself, it's propelled by chemical rockets. It's fundamentally as a machine, it works. It makes sense. Why they would put a bloody air traffic control tower on the top of the thing is anyone's guess.
Lighthouse.
Also, the amount of windows on the bloody thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not entirely safe, but it is. It's a scaffolders and double glazers, dream job. But
I was going to say it was a ship built by a window cleaner, wasn't
it? Yeah, it's going to cost you. So I think you have to acknowledge at least that they put a little bit of thought into the look of the ship, if not necessarily how it all worked. I'm not going to ask for anything higher than a 3.
You see, if we were talking about the Palomino, I'd be happy giving you a 3 because there's very poorly, but there's a sense of the whole when it's spinning and turning around to fire its engines and the zero gravity and all those sort of things. Yeah, I mean the Palomino at least makes an attempt at science or doing it right. The Cygnus, it's I can't in good conscience give it anything more than honestly a 1, and that's just because
that is harsh.
It's not hand-wavium Star Wars style.
No.
Excuse me, it pretty much is.
Well, I mean, the fact that it's hanging on the accretion disk of a black hole is kind of a bit dodgy, but
well, it's that. It's also the designer. Again, it's a cathedral in space. I mean, when you look at the Palomino, which looks like a ship idea sort of thing, it's a metal tube. It's got engines on the ends of sticks and all this. It's kind of like a diving bell sort of sense to it. That kind of makes there's a logic that's gone into the science there. At least someone's spent a modicum of time thinking about it. But the second they turn on the lights on the Cygnus, it's just like, this is a gorgeous thing to look at. Absolutely love to look at it. But it does look like something that Captain Nemo would have made.
But that's the point. But the thing is, I guess the question is does science come into how it looks? Because as far as it goes, I mean, it does doesn't do anything crazy. It doesn't go into warp drive, and it's got life support systems. They've got an arboretum that they have to, generate their air from and their food. And,
well, yeah, it's got that, and as thoughts have gone into that. I mean,
that's what I'm trying to say. It's
I'll meet you halfway. I'll give you the 2 for those bits.
Yeah, I'd be happy with a 2. I think because it's not perfect, but it's not as bad as some of the other examples we've had of late. I don't think so.
No, it's again, it's lovely to look at, and yeah, some bits they got really right. Some bits they got really wrong.
Very, very wrong. Yes, exactly. Okay, well, I'll take the 2 then. So, where are we on now? Coolness.
Crew.
Well, coolness or crew? Okay, crew.
It's crew.
Okay, now this is very rough back of the scorecard scribbling here, but I scrubbed through the film today, and I reckon of the space zombie crew, you see approximately about 50 people. Because there's ones that are going around being programmed and in that little turntable thing. Then there's about half a dozen attending a funeral. Then there's the one that's died and getting fired off. Then there's about sort of 15 in the actual console room. So just estimating you've got a crew of about 50. Then you've got all the robots. But after that, the numbers all go a bit wonky because there's just no way of telling how many robots there really are. So, as far as numbers of crew is concerned, I don't know. I don't know how best to pitch this. I mean, if I just go by the amount of people you see, then I guess we're in sort of like scoring a 3. Because we're estimating between 26 to 100 crew members.
I mean, I don't get a sense it would have had any more than that, given what we see on screen. And again, just going off what we see from the Palomino, that's a smaller ship. It's got like 3 or 4 people, and the Cygnus was a research ship sent out a bit before that. I think, I mean, a 3, I'm more than happy to give you that. I don't think there's any evidence that we can say that it's got any more than that, though.
No. I mean, the implication is there's hundreds of these sentry droids wandering about, but you
don't see them on screen.
There's nothing to back that up. I mean, you only see like you never see more than 2 to 3 on a screen at a time. So,
if they were making it today, there'd be hordes of them.
Oh,
because, producing robots and CGIs.
Oh yeah, it would be like Attack of the Clones, isn't it?
Yeah,
it would be, wouldn't it?
It would be, but then that's kind of what I think they would have gone for.
Roger.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's a 3, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So
what of their skill?
But what of their skill? Well, they're basically space zombies, one and all.
Space zombies with one crazy Captain Nemo.
One crazy Captain Nemo and one homicidal red robot.
It's Crichton gone bad, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit more than that. I mean, Christ almighty, Maximilian is the stuff of nightmares for small children. I mean, he's got to count for something. Reinhardt...
He can make a wicked souffle, I tell you that.
It's true.
Yeah. Yeah, and he sort of gave Anthony Hopkins a taste of his own medicine. Anthony Perkins, sorry.
I was going to say
Anthony Perkins gave him a taste of his own shower medicine. So I'm not going to. They're not utterly incompetent, but they're just so inactive in the face of danger because they've been lobotomized, pretty much all of them. You've got to,
but they're still better than the Red Dwarf crew.
Still better than the Red Dwarf crew, exactly.
Yeah, we should let everyone know we've had an off mic meeting, and we've decided that the Red Dwarf crew are now worth 0.
Oh,
yes, 0.
Still not happy with that.
Big fat 0. So, I mean, yeah, which means that sort of Alan and his Eagle would have got 1 instead of 2. So the Eagle's transport really lost. So
you're messing up my table now, man, if we've got 0 on there.
Oh, you can spend a week doing...
Go back to your Excel spreadsheets now.
I'm on my Excel spreadsheet, you git. I'm to alter it now.
Oh.
Mid-episode. It's just not on.
Oh, no. Well...
The wheels are coming off, people.
Yeah, well,
I'm
okay.
going to redo the borders and everything.
Oh, You're going to be thankful of that 0 when it comes to the Draconia, mate. Trust me. So anyway, I'm hoping for a 2.
Oh, I'm happy to give you the 2.
Yeah.
Have a number 2.
It's Nemo and Maximilian that give you that.
Yeah, exactly. The other guys just would stomp around and be a 1, to be honest. So, there you go. That's the Cygnus, and by my reckoning...
Ooh, coolness.
Oh, coolness. Coolness, yes. For coolness, now, I think this is an amazing design, and when, as you say, that moment when it first lights up and it's all in shadow, and it's like, it's clearly something that's really been thought out to be, here's a spooky house in space. Dum, dum, dum. And, I mean, you know, I'm going to give it my full 4 points for this because I love it. I think it's great. It's not everyone's taste, and I don't think I'm going to get a 3s across the board from you guys, but I have to say, I can't in good conscience say that if someone showed me the Cygnus and said, what do you think of that? I'm just going to go, that is really fucking cool. And even more interestingly is when you see all the toys and everything of it, they never catch the coolness because they never get that sort of level of detail that's on that ship.
Well, it's the detail and it's the lights. It's a very soft, luminescent sort of vibe to it. You know, there's a lot of diffuse going on there, which is... You just can't translate. It has a beautiful sense of scale.
Yes.
I think. I mean, yeah, the model work is beautiful. Solely on the design and the model work, I'll give it the 3. Like, I'm just taking the ship out of context of a black hole and just as the ship and the model, I'll give it my 3.
Okay.
If you start asking me to judge it based on the film or anything else, that diminished as rapidly.
Okay, fair enough. So, what about you, Pete?
It's not bad, and I definitely like the lighting.
Yeah.
But the giant lighthouse come spire thing just look a bit daft. So I'm afraid I'm only stretching to a 2.
Okay. So a 2 from you, a 3 from Andy, and a 4 from me. Ooh, that's quite interesting. So there you go. So, by my calculations, and as we know through history, they have been utterly wrong up till now.
No, never.
Stand by the music, Andy.
Yeah, stand by. I mark this down as 43 points.
Hey,
I concur.
Yes.
Bloody hellfire! Wow,
that just causes a problem.
Why is that?
Well, both the X-Bomber and the Odyssey are on 42. Which of those gets the chop?
Oh, they can both go. I don't give a fuck.
Then we've only got a top 9, man.
No,
but like I said, the Draconia, I'm predicting is going to be the top of this by the end of it. You know, I have faith in you, Peter.
I don't. Right. I'll be honest. Right. Okay. I'll tell you what. I'll be honest with you. I think because the X-Bomb was first in, the Odyssey will be the first out. First in, last out. So
that's harsh.
Odyssey
both cover them in the same podcast.
No, we didn't.
Didn't we?
No, I did the Agamemnon in the first one. So X-Bomb was first in.
Yep, X-Bomb was first in, so Odyssey's first out.
Oh, it's the Dacia Sandero of this podcast. You can't get rid of it.
We can't get rid of it. It'll be a sad day when that goes. We'll all be sad.
Yes, you are.
yeah, we are all sad. Right, so there you go. So
it's entry on the spreadsheet.
So USS Cygnus has 43 points.
There was Slave 1, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. Underneath Slave 1.
Well, that's pretty damning for Boba Fett, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say that just goes to prove that he was just a suit. Right. Okay. Well, there you go. So, first ship done. USS Cygnus in there. I'll be honest with you. I did not think it would get there. I did not think it was going to do anything.
Yeah, wow.
I'm surprised it's even got in. But, you know.
It slipped in under the radar there.
It did.
Hiding on the edge of the accretion disk.
Accretion disk, exactly. Yeah. Brilliant. Okie dokie. Well, who's going next then?
I think it's me, isn't it?
I think it is you, sir.
So, continuing my theme of big red spaceships, this time I've brought the Draconia from Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
Oh.
Stop it.
What's up, Buck?
A 1979 Glenn A. Larson series, shown over here by ITV in competition to Doctor Who. Unsurprisingly, they lost the particular ratings war. But the first series of Buck Rogers does have its charm. We're rewatching it at the moment, actually.
Is that charm largely a certain Colonel Wilmer?
Yeah, that's certainly two of the good points, yes.
Nice.
And Tweaky, go on then, Tweaky, is actually, for a comedy robot, actually not bad compared to some of the competition. So, voiced, of course, by the legend Mel Blanc.
I was just a quick sidebar. So we had Vincent and Bob from Cygnus. We've got Tweaky from Buck Rogers. At some point, we're going to have to do a shitty robot special.
We are, aren't we?
Yes.
Yep. Go for it.
I've got several up my sleeve for that one. But anyway, yeah, Tweaky ain't so bad. The Draconia, getting back to the whole point of this, is the flagship of the bad guys, the Draconian Empire. And it's a massive carrier under the command of Princess Ardala. Let's just take a moment.
Is that the other reason to watch the first season of Buck Rogers?
That's another good reason to be watching as well. Pretty much every story has some nice-looking person in it. Yes. Lovely. The model itself was built under the supervision of Pete Gerard, no relation to Jill Gerard. And for the info for this, by the way, I've relied a lot on a website by one of the guys who worked under Pete Gerard, Ken Larson, who's no relation to Glenn Larson. He makes the point quite strongly. Clearly didn't get on.
Nice.
And as I say, I have been enjoying the rewatch of the series, but I am going to be throwing the ship under the bus because it's a serious case of the memory cheat. So I remember the ship being a lot more impressive. Admittedly on video when I watched it before. Now I've got it on DVD. Oh dear. Yes. I mean, I remembered it looking like it would seriously fuck you up. And to an extent, that's true. It has a vicious profile, all pointy teeth, and seemingly bristling with weapons. A sort of S&M Galactica, if you like. And, of course, Glenn A. Larson was behind Galactica. That was his sort of previous sci-fi series. But then when you look at it on DVD, the model don't look so good close up, it has to be said. And the insides, this is where it gets even worse, looks suspiciously like sets from the Galactica, but painted red. Complete with that pit area on the bridge and everything. It's just the same bloody sets, you cheapskates.
Well, I know that the fighters in Buck Rogers were the original concepts for the Vipers.
Yeah, and you can see why they got rid of them as well, because they look...
Yep.
I mean, the fighters that the Earth use are okay. They're not too bad. I think they call it, are those Starfighters? I can't remember now.
Yeah, they're the ones that were the original Viper concepts.
Yeah, they're okay. They're not as good as the Vipers, but they're not bad. I did have a little dinky toy one actually. Yep. But the Draconia carries fighters, but they're like very bad knockoff X-wings, basically. Very rubbish. And whenever they cut to a pilot, it's always the same guy with a beard that looks a bit like Lee with a samurai hat.
I was young. I needed the money.
Well done, sir. Well done. And whenever they go to the cockpits, they've all got the same control sticks as the Vipers do as well. I mean, it's just cheap. It really is, but Rogers, it has to be said. Ah, dear. I mean, even when they launch the ships, it's exactly the same shot from Battlestar Galactica, but with a red filter on it.
Nice.
The Draconia does have an obvious bridge, but again, it's a stupidly positioned one sticking out for everybody to blow up. And worst of all,
like the Borcha from Star Trek. Just a picture.
Kind of, yes. There's a similar sort of design aesthetic going on there, yes. But it's not. Yeah, it's not quite the same layout. So if you mated a Vorcha with a Ferengi Marauder, you'd end up with something looking like this, I guess. But it's a horrible thought.
Yes, some horrible abomination which should be put down. Yes, that's an excellent comparison.
Everybody needs a hobby. Anyway. The worst thing to discover about this, and part of the memory cheat thing, because I remember the model looking like it got loads of weapons. It has not one. In actual fact, in the pilot, they make the point that it's sailing into Earth space because it has no weapons.
Ah, right. That's rubbish.
Crap. Exactly. So this vicious knife of a ship is actually a big red toothless baboon's arse of a vessel. Like the Executor,
yeah.
okay, it has its own theme tune. And, of course, Empire Strikes Back came after both Battlestar Galactica, the original, and Buck Rogers. So you could argue, actually, that they were, there's Empire Strikes Back's ripping Buck Rogers off. I wouldn't try for a minute, but you could argue that chronologically. Of course, in Battlestar Galactica, whenever the wonderful-looking, and I'll try and bring one of these to the table at some point, the wonderful-looking Cylon base stars appear, you get to hear the sound effect, which sounds like this. Complete with the door opening, because you get that every time.
Lovely use of the doors at the end there, yeah.
Yes.
Do you think that's just a doorbell? It's like every time Lucifer came to see the Supreme Commander.
If so, it's the most awesome doorbell ever. I love that.
The Milkman's here.
We're doing a rewatch of the original BSG as well, and every time one of the bass stars appear and it plays that tune, we clap. It's just fantastic. We love that. But then we get on to Buck Rogers. And they decided, that worked well in Battlestar Galactica. Let's do that for the Draconia as well. Let's have its own theme tune. And this is what they came up with. Every time it comes on screen, they killed that fucking elephant.
It's like something out of a Leslie Nielsen movie where it's just cutting between him reacting to something else.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Let me do that again. Hold on.
It's Death by Bagpipes, isn't it?
Is that you, Mother? Jesus Christ.
And they actually thought that was cool. And literally, you've got the pilot is the first 2 episodes, and the ship appears quite on a regular basis. At least 4 times in each half.
Oh.
And you get that awful theme every time. And after the 3rd or 4th time, you go, "No, stop it! My ears are bleeding."
That's special.
Oh yes, very special.
Wow.
So I've ragged a bit on the ship. Let me rag a bit on the crew. Because really, they're inept. Buck, Tweaky, and Dr. Theopolis, who's a slightly crapper robot that hangs around Tweaky's neck. Looks like a giant medallion, basically.
Yeah, that's Easy-E.
Player.
Yeah. They managed to take out this entire carrier, huge, great big thing, with only a little help from Wilmer and a squadron of 3 starfighters. And the way they do this is to put bombs in the engines of all the ships it's carrying. So every time they take off, they explode. And again, they use the same footage of these ships flying and exploding so many times. Like, have they not worked out yet? This is not a viable plan. Stop launching the fighters, you idiots.
Nice. Brilliant.
Right, let's see if I can sink this bastard, shall we?
I think we're all going to have a crack at that. So go on in.
Size-wise, we're unfortunately limited by the fact that it is fairly huge. Again, it as always with my ships, the biggest dimension is the width, and
it's all about the girth.
Oh yes, it's supposed to be 5 miles wide, which is about 8 kilometers. So that gives it a 12.
Fucking hellfire.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry. It's downhill from here.
Okay. Yep.
Speed.
Oh.
Sublight, we only see it gradually plodding its way across our solar system, getting slightly closer to Earth, and every 5 minutes playing that awful theme tune.
Can we play it again? Please let me play it again.
Oh, go on then.
Sorry. It just
broke it.
Yeah, it broke.
It's okay. I'll put it in the edit.
It broke my player.
So not again. What are you thinking, man?
Oh my god. Go on.
You need that now to weave that into the Black Dog somewhere. That's got to be your thing now.
Trust me, that will. Every time. It'll be the intro.
Whenever you play somebody's feedback, maybe.
Yes,
play that,
maybe a pair of people's feedback.
Yeah,
a couple perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, every time you send in feedback, Pete, that's it. That's your thing now.
Oh shit! We're going to send him feedback for the next one as well. Bollocks. It's a nice bit of cross promotion, I suppose.
Yeah.
It'll be a while before they find out what the context is, won't it? But,
yeah. Everyone will be like, "What the fuck was that?"
And if you want to know, you'll have to listen.
Yeah.
In a month's time.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to speed.
Yep.
I think the maximum you're looking at is months. So we're looking at 2.
2.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not supposed to be fast. It's a big carrier thing. So
I'm not going to argue this. I watched an episode of Buck Rogers the other night, and dude, I want to give it a 0 across the board just for making me watch it.
Sorry.
That's okay. Oh,
it has its charms, but the Draconia is not one of them. Definitely.
Yeah,
not.
the charm is basically freezing on Erin Grey, and just that's it.
Yeah, that works.
We have the internet for that now, so
yeah, exactly.
In terms of FTL, unfortunately, because I don't want to be rating this highly, but unfortunately, they do have junk gate technology in Buck Rogers. And this ship has travelled a long way, so it must be capable. So I guess we're giving it 3 for that.
Yes, I was going to say...
Them's the rules.
Yes.
Sadly.
Yeah, but on manoeuvrability, it's a pointy brick.
So... I love my brick.
Yeah, not this one, you don't. We can give this one a 1.
A 1.
Ha
ha. Right, okay.
Firepower. Yeah. Armoured support craft 1.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Cool.
Rubbish. A ship that big, there's not a single gun on it. It's just like, what were they thinking?
That is just wrong. Wrong.
Defence. It was destroyed in less than 5 minutes by a combination of 3 starfighters, Buck Rogers, and a couple of droids lobbing bombs into the back of ships. Can we give it a 0, please?
Yes, you can.
Good.
You may. You will.
It looks like it ought to be heavily armoured under passive, but it clearly isn't. So give that a 1.
Right. Okay.
And special. The only special thing about this ship is its theme tune, and that's special in only a certain regard.
Hold on.
I want that played at my funeral as the curtains close. Blah! Blah!
I was hoping to catch it and put it on loop, and I was just going to leave it looping for 5 seconds to see how long it would take for you guys to go, stop.
I'll plug out the computer and just leave.
It's a remarkable theme tune. Anyway, carry on.
Realisation. The exterior. As I say, I remembered it looking a lot better than it does. And it certainly looks very ropey in HD. So I think 2, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the actual web page about building it, the visual effects Universal Heartland.
That's I use. Yeah, it's good. It's an interesting site, but yeah.
It's an interesting site, but the model itself is, well, it looks like someone's basically thrown a load of Lego bricks into a pile of glue. Yeah, not really digging
it. Doesn't look as cool as that thing. Yeah,
great.
No, not at all.
It has a level of detail, but it is pretty random. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we go to the interior.
And
they're mostly reusing Battlestar Galactica sets, which is a cheap stunt. The hangar bay is clearly just a movie set with an asthmatic smoke machine trying to cover that up. So I'm giving it a 1 just because they got some lights on.
They used electricity in the making of this. You get a 1, yeah.
And in actual fact, it might be better if they switched the lights off, but there we go.
Wow.
Mistake. Lit it up.
Okay. Well, there you go. 1 you shall have.
Science.
Don't even go there.
How about no?
That's
How about no? Definitely not. 0.
Big fat fucking 0 for that.
Yes.
Do you have a 0 for that? I think the lowest we can give it is a 1.
Oh, come on. Surely we can give this a 0.
It's your spreadsheets. If you want to start adding zeros, fine.
I just think it's just pitiful. A massive, great big ship like this and not a single weapon on it. Come on, that's 0.
But that's not science, though, is it?
No, yeah.
That's not science.
Yeah, what scientist would sit down and design a great big carrier ship without a single gun on it, really? Only an absolute idiot would launch the ship into space.
Well, I think we have to give it a 1 because it was realised.
Yeah, by dint of the fact that we can actually see it, it gets a 1. Light reflects off its surface. That's science.
Okay, that's my new challenge, to try and find a ship that's going to score 0 for science.
Yeah.
That's the TARDIS, isn't it? Just for the fanboys out there.
Let's not get started on that. Eh?
No, let's not do that. Remember, we're going for a drink with Martin Thompson tomorrow. Let's just not.
Yeah, but he's not going to hear this for like a month. It's fine.
Oh, that's true.
Safe space at the moment. Yeah. Are we on crew?
We're on crew.
We are.
Right, crew numbers. I've got some figures for this because apparently it was supposed to be comparable to the Galactica. So therefore, we're looking about 700 from the original BSG, obviously. So therefore, we have to give this a 5.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Oh God. Okay, a 5.
Don't worry, you can lose some points now when it comes to competence.
Yes, let's kick them.
Okay.
For this one. I mean, skill. They remember to get dressed. That's all you can say for their crew. Literally.
1.
A lot of them, especially Tiger Man. Don't get me started on Tiger Man.
now you see, Peter. This is why us putting the Red Dwarf crew at 0 helps you, because now you can claim a 1 rather than the 2 you'd have had to have otherwise.
Okay, fair enough.
Wow. This is the first of what will become a regular thing called throwing a ship under a bus.
I think we should do a special with us at some point, just throwing ships under buses. It has to become a thing.
Yes. Okay, so we've done.
Brings us to coolness. Can you guess what I'm going for? Am I allowed to give this a 0?
Ooh.
At least 1.
No, the coolness is between 1 and 10.
Yeah, it's got to be 1 then.
What are you going to give it, Andy?
Oh, all of my 1.
All of your 1.
All of my 1.
See, I'm going to give it a 2.
Oh, you git.
Not because I'm being a git, but because even though it's not the coolest thing, and even though it's got that horrible, stupid tuning fork thing at the front, and and those utterly ridiculous testicles hanging off the wings.
Lee.
Yeah.
Are you giving it an extra point just for the theme song?
Yes. Yes, I am. I can't help myself. I mean, I'm sorry, but how can you deny that this isn't cool? See?
We need to find a way to translate that into the title of this episode.
Da da da. Plus it does look like something I could build in Lego, so yeah, I'm going to give it a 2.
Okay. That means it scores more highly than Thunderbird 3, and you've got nobody to blame but yourself.
Oh, fuck.
You twonk.
Oh, my shame is complete.
Because when I originally rated it, I'd rated it as 29, and you've gradually upped the points to all of 34, mostly on the basis of that shitty tune.
See? You've only got yourself to blame now.
Not me. It's not me. I gave it 29.
No.
Yeah, but you gave it a theme tune.
Yeah, you gave it a theme tune, mate. That's the problem.
I thought that would stand against it.
No.
I mean, any sane person would.
No, quite the opposite, my chum.
Yeah, come on. You've known Lee for how long now?
Clearly not long enough.
Oh, dear. The Draconia getting 34 points.
34. How is that possible? He's spawned the Eagle Transporter. Perhaps if the Eagle Transporter had some sort of theme as Alan crashed it for the 9 millionth time, then it would have scored better. But
But
surely the Eagle would have something like that. Oi!
well, there you go. So that's the Draconia in with a bullet at number 15 with 34 points.
Oh, too good for it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, that was a thing. Before
that was something that happened.
That was something that happened. Before we go though, before we go on to your one, Andy.
Yeah.
Right, so there you go. That's the Draconia under the bus.
Hey.
I was surprised. I honestly thought it would do better.
Yeah, there are
trying to make it to do far worse.
There's Buck Rogers fans frantically typing towards the Space Dock jury site right now.
Dear so-called sirs, I was horrified to listen to your podcast of late.
You referred to it as a flying tuning fork with bollocks.
Yes.
And I'll have you know that theme tune is a piece of art.
Yes.
That will last through the ages.
Don't mention the theme tune.
Oh, the theme tune. What, you mean this? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh,
Stop it.
Stop it.
I think if I edit all those out, we'd be down to about 20 minutes for this cast.
Yeah.
Oh, don't do that. I'll be most upset.
You realise if we play it too often, we'll be owing royalties to whoever composed that disaster.
No, because it has to be 30 seconds without interruption.
Can you imagine 30 seconds of that without the interruption of you going complete start staring mad?
Exactly, see? It's just.
I think they used it in Guantanamo Bay, didn't they?
Yeah, they still are. They're just playing it at full pelt and just showing episodes of Buck Rogers.
From season 2.
Yeah, anything with Hawk. And that stupid ship, which was quite clearly Discovery 1 with some...
Man. Yeah, that's another ship that deserves to go under the bus, isn't it? That and his wig.
Oh, God, yeah. He looks like Oscar Isaac's sort of like jobbing actor. But anyway, right, well, moving on from Buck Rogers...
Please, let's move on.
Which I'm sure we'll come back to at some point in this series. It's over to you, Andy, and I believe you have our first literary...
Yes, it's as we say in our preamble at the beginning of the cast, we all take spaceships from TV, movies, video games, comics, and books, like anything in the multiverse. So this is a little bit of testing the waters. We're going to see if we can take a spaceship from primarily books and make it work. So I am presenting the Gloriana Class battleship, the Vengeful Spirit, from the world of Warhammer 40,000.
Glory be to the Emperor.
Glory be. All hail his divine Emperor.
Yep.
So, the Vengeful Spirit was an ancient Gloriana-class battleship adapted to a variant of the Scylla pattern that served as the flagship of the War Master Horus and the 16th Space Marine Legion. A heavy ignot of iron, the Vengeful Spirit radiated quiet power. Even from a distance, one could see hundreds of gun turrets and slender rods of massive accelerator cannons that were twice the length of most Imperial battleships themselves. The prow of Horus's flagship displayed a massive golden ring, which bisected in a slim ellipse. This was the eye of the War Master himself, unblinking and open to see all that transpired.
And he's the golden ring.
And the eye.
The Emperor's golden ring, yes.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, serious face. Carrying on. The Emperor, glory be to him. Over time, the Vengeful Spirit became less a warship and more a temple to the dark gods of chaos whom Horus came to revere in his quest for domination over the Imperium of Man. Countless worlds were reduced to rubble and seas of radioactive glass under the withering fire from its many rows of weapon batteries. As expected of such a monumental warship, the armour of the Gloriana Class was incredibly thick and protected by overlapping void shields, which allowed them to absorb stupendous amounts of damage. Aboard the Vengeful Spirit, the flagship of Horus throughout the conflict, it was here that the final climactic battle of wills took place between the Emperor and his once favoured son, who had become the most foul arch traitor in mankind's history. Following the Horus heresy, abandoned the despoiler, commander of the renamed Black Legion claimed the Vengeful Spirit for his own flagship. It still forms the heart of a Black Legion fleet to this day. Nearly all of the Titanic warships of the Gloriana class were lost or destroyed during or immediately after the Horus heresy. Though exceedingly rare, these vessels still rightfully command deep respect and fear, especially when they have giant gold rings.
Yeah, you can always be scared of a giant gold ring, especially staring down. Sorry.
I can't give too much in the way of behind the scenes for this. Obviously, the Warhammer game has been going since, I believe, the mid-'80s. And the book's been going on for quite a while. They did a Battlefleet Gothic game in the late 90s, I believe, but that didn't feature ships of the Gloriana class or the big War Master ones. These primarily come from the quite excellent Horus Heresy book series, which has been released over the past 4 or 5 years, and of a couple of authors are amongst our numbers on the Facebook group. We have Dan Abnett and Gav Thorpe, I believe, who partake. So we raise our glasses to you, sirs. Thank you.
Does this not put you off with the book, Rogers?
Yeah.
Yes.
So does this mean you're asking for extra special favours now that we've got members of the audience who actually got a vested interest in this thing?
Not at all, not at all. No.
10.
The thing is, you can pretty much you can throw this under the bus all you want for coolness and realization and all this. On firepower alone, this is going to score high.
Okay. Well, give us your stats and we'll work our way through it.
I'll give you some stats, shall we? Okay, right, fine. Well, size. I don't have exact figures for the Vengeful Spirit, but the Gloriana class are between 20 and 26 kilometres in length, generally. So I believe that puts us at a 13.
Bloody hellfire. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, for speed, for sublight, I'm thinking this is probably somewhere in the crossing a solar system in days. We see ships from other Gothic ships and all this can transverse the Earth system in a matter of days to get from Earth to Saturn and so forth, sort of thing. So I'm asking for a 3 for sublight. And
you may have it, sir. I've seen these in the video game version.
Yes,
so
I've posted a few shots from the video game for Battlefleet Gothic, which looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I really hope it is. But we'll have to wait and see. Now, for FTL, there's a few drawbacks with its FTL system, if I'm honest. It does employ a version of jump gates, if you will. However, the way this does is it tears open a hole in reality and enters that lovely world that the Event Horizon used to go to, the warp, where you have demons and horrible things. You get lost. You can end up arriving hundreds of years later. Time is completely fluid. It literally is praying that you will get through the warp. They have to breed special mutants called navigators, and the only way they can navigate is by focusing on what's called the Astronomicon, where on Earth they sacrifice, I think, 100,000 psychers a day to keep that light burning so the psychers can find it.
Nice.
It is not in any way an FTL system I want to do. However, when it does work, you can get across the galaxy relatively quickly. So with that in mind, I'm asking for a 3.
Well, I think you can have the 3, but I don't know if we should penalise it for actually whether or not the ship will arrive.
And whether, if it does, the crew are sane by the end of it. That's the thing.
Well, let's face it, I don't think we can argue that we're sane to begin with most of the time.
Probably not.
But yeah, I'm just asking for the 3 on account of its jump gate technology. And
okay. Well, you can...
Manoeuvrability, as is tradition, it's a flying brick. So
1.
I will take my 1.
Yep. Nice. Yeah, 1 right. And proud.
1 and proud, yes.
Okay.
So now we come to firepower. Now, Warhammer is all about things that are big and overly bombastic and explosive. The ship is, as in the description, bristling with weapons. But I'll just pull out 2 specific ones here, which I think you'll find interesting. One are the cyclonic torpedoes, which, if a world is declared exterminatus, they fire a spread of these torpedoes, and that planet stops being a planet.
Nice.
Yes. They also carry plague bombs, which they can drop on you, and then the planet is still there, but no one else is there. They're quite graphic in their descriptions of what these things do, but it basically says flesh slops from bones like rotting meat. It's not a very nice arsenal. So with that, I don't think it's quite Death Star as in it's one-shotting your planet and it's blowing up.
No.
But I think it's a 13. Your day is ruined if that comes to
your day. Yeah.
Okay.
And every day after it.
I think that's fair.
Yes. Now for defense, for active defense, it has no maneuverability to speak of. It has point defense systems, lots of those sort of lasers and bits and pieces like that. It has. Well, we don't have angled shields because that's the thing. I think it's just the strength of the armor. Oh, right. On active defense, it's just going to be the point defense system. It's just that. So that's just a 1. But for passive, it has heavy armor and massively overlapping void shields. I mean, this is a ship that's meant to go toe-to-toe with an entire enemy fleet and is still expected to come out winning.
Right. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about perfect shields, aren't we?
I think we're talking perfect shields for passive.
Okay, so that's a 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, for special, I have 2 words for you. Space Marines. And I put these down as defense. One of the favorite tactics for either trying to seize or to stop people seizing your ship is to fire boarding pods full of Space Marines onto the enemy ship, who then proceed to go to the bridge and kill everyone and to the engine room and blow it up. So I think that's worth at least a couple of points.
Right. Okay. What do you think there, Pete? Because, I mean, you're a bit more Warhammered up than I am.
Yep, and the argument here is, well, doesn't that come under crew?
The Space Marines are not nominally part of the crew of the ship. They
are right.
They are carried on the ship, and they're part of a contingent, but they're not the crew of the ship as such.
And therefore, they won't necessarily always be on board, will they?
That's true.
Being a Legion flagship, though, they are always on board. They are of
so
the
therefore
ship.
They're I see what the distinction you're making here is that they're not the crew, as in they're not operating the ship.
Yeah.
So they're carrying a garrison of
and again I'm using and you can see on a couple of the videos I posted from the gameplay from the Gothic game. You see one of the guys. He basically, when his ship's being attacked, he's firing boarding tubes over to the enemy ship to stop them firing on him.
I tell you what, Andy, I'll give you a point for the Chaos Space Marines that it carries, and another point for the fact that it's chaos, and that can really fuck with your day as well.
Yes, I mean,
because if the ship it comes up against is full of anything other than top of the line Space Marines, it's in trouble just because their minds may well be horribly affected. So I guess 2 for special I could go for.
Okay, I've got nothing to reference to that, so I have to just take your word for it.
You've got no point of reference, Donny. You're like a child lost in.
So now this is going to be our. This is where we have to test the waters, as it were. Realization. Yeah. So,
although you are rather helped by the fact that it has been realised both in computer games and in the board game.
Well,
so.
It's
easier than it would be.
Have been. It is easier than it would be, and this isn't something that doesn't exist elsewhere. This ship itself, I think it's on the cover of one of the books. But yeah, when I say a Battlefleet Gothic ship, you have a point of reference in your mind, as in what you're thinking then. Largely, I'm going off of how they're described in the books, which I know you guys. I know Peter's read some of them. I don't think you have, Lee.
No.
And your mileage does vary depending upon who is writing the book as to how it is, sort of thing. But I think I'm going to ask for a 3 or a 4 for the realization, just on the strength. You get someone like Dan Abnett writing, it's a very poetic language. You know, he talks about the ships hanging over high anchor, bristling with guns. And he's very poetic way in the way he describes the ships to you. And the ship models in the Battlefleet Gothic game, you see in those sort of thing, I think they're a very unique and interesting sort of cathedral thing. I don't think they're as detailed in any way like the Cygnus we saw earlier, just because it's computers as opposed to that. But a 3 or a 4 is what I would like for realization for the exterior. That's just exterior.
I'm will again. I mean, I know what I think they. I mean, I've seen them in the video games, and I've seen illustrations of them before to recognise them. I've never read a book, so I've got not a book of this, not a book ever. So I'm willing to be guided by Pete on this a little bit. I mean,
as Andy says, it does depend on the book slightly because they do have different authors.
Your mileage will vary.
Yeah, but the better authors do paint a very vivid picture, and both of the exterior and the interior as well. It seems a very real environment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy to go with. What were you going for? A 3 or a 4?
A 3 or a 4. I mean, I would give it a 4, but I'm hedging towards the 3 just because it's a book.
I mean, yeah, exactly. The only thing is, I say it's a lot easier to make a realistic ship in a book, but so many people get it wrong. Actually, that in some ways that's what's kind of making.
I think it could be very hard. It just in so much as it can be very hard to translate something to someone through words alone.
Particularly something so alien and strange.
Yeah,
and certain authors do certainly manage it. So, a tough one.
Well,
I mean,
well, I said I'll formally ask for the 4, and then you can decide if you think it does is that good, or if it should go for the 3 because of it being the book and because of the variants. I mean,
I tell you what, if you choose one of the better books, then we go with a 4. I think is
okay.
The
well, I mean,
to that one.
I would be looking at one of the ones by Dan Abnett or Gav or James Swallow. You know, some of the more interesting books, sort of thing, in so much as they're very consistent in their writing. You know, the authors have got a very good picture in their own minds of what the ship should be like, what it should do, and it stays consistent throughout in those ones.
Yeah. Okay, go with a 4 then. I think.
4. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
4.
Now, for the interior, again, I'm going to ask for the 3 or the 4, and just after that discussion, I'm going to lean towards the 4, and that's just because even more so than the exterior, in a lot of these books, a lot of the action will take place on the ship, and it could be very easy to become very blasé and then just to describe a corridor, but, you know, especially in some of the books after it's turned... Sorry, yeah?
Compare it to some of the Trek spin-off books.
Good Lord. It's night and day. It's like... Yeah. It's like reading Tolstoy after reading A Hungry, Hungry Caterpillar. It's that sort of thing. A lot of the action takes place on the ships in some of the books, and especially after the ship starts turning to chaos, and they describe the way the corridors are warping, it's becoming this dank foulness, and evil seeping into the ship. It's very, very well done. And the way he describes crews and stuff like that as well, and the people, the interaction of that, it's a very, very vivid picture. I mean, some of the better Horus Heresy books, I absolutely recommend anyone who just likes science fiction give a read, because they're really, really fun books to just lose yourself into. So for interior, I would ask for a 4.
Okay.
Yep.
Again, I've got no reference at this point, so I'm just being guided by Pete.
No,
and when it comes to science, away with a fucking fairies, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I'd give it 0 if I could, but I can't.
It gets 1 by default.
One by default, the 2 sweetest words of the English language.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it has a science all of its own, which is similar to Star Wars, isn't it?
I was just going to say, actually, it literally has magic.
Yeah. As part of the makeup, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So now we come to crew. Now, this is the flagship of Horus, the Warmaster. The crew, I can't say that they're legendary Starfleet crew, because they turn to chaos, if nothing else. Yeah. That's a dumb, stupid thing to do. But they are the best of the best, at least initially, before they are all corrupted. They're very intelligent. This isn't your kind of... If you imagine a computer game, Space Marine, something like out of Halo, you know, one man charging off to do sort of thing, the ship captain just flying in and doing... They understand tactics, they understand the best way to make use of things, to use their things to their advantage. I would... And Horus, as well, as the War Master of Chaos, right up until he thought it would be a good idea to go 1-to-1 with the Emperor. You know, he on his own brings the average up. I don't know why I'm talking about competence instead of numbers at the minute, but I've started, so I'm going to finish. But yeah, on the competence of the crew, I'd probably be asking for a 4 for the competence with a Vengeful Spirit. It was the flagship. It got all the way against the Imperium of Man to the doorstep of Earth. It just fumbled at the final yard, down to hubris more than anything.
Well, again, I mean, from what you're saying, I would say 4.
Yep.
I'm
I
quite
think
happy
4
with
is
that.
fair.
Yeah, okay.
Now, as for numbers of crew, I don't have exact numbers, at least nothing I could find before recording this. It's many thousands of people. I just don't know how many thousand, because they don't really give you a good sense. I don't think we're going to be in the 20,000 plus, or maybe even the 10,000 plus, but I think potentially it could be in the 5 to 10,000 range. The Warhammer world it's a world which was technologically very advanced and then suffered a crash back into a medieval state. And they still have a lot of this technology, but they don't necessarily understand how everything works properly. So you often have things like where you'd have auto-loaders for weapons. They don't work anymore. So they now have lots of slaves and servitors and serfs who manually will load these rockets. Rockets about the size of a Saturn V into the torpedo tubes. They speak a lot about having slaves in the lower decks, which are just there as menials to be sacrificed for rituals and stuff like that, and also just for things like loading the weapons, cleaning weapons, armor, bits and pieces like that. So I'm thinking somewhere in the 5 to 10,000 range. I know you're going to have to take me at my word on this one, but given us the size of the ship, I think that's kind of what I think it should be. I mean, and that's not counting the Space Marines. I'm just counting the crew of the ship.
Crew of the ship.
Yeah.
Just the crew of a ship, not the Space Marines as well. So I'm thinking.
But you're
about
asking
that.
for an 8.
I'm asking for an 8.
Well, I can give you an 8, I think. I mean, that does make sense for given the size of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I've got to come back to, though, just with your skills, because you said how skilled they were.
Yeah.
You did mention that they, in some cases, pray for the ship to work.
Yes, this is something certainly, because this ship exists over 10,000 years in so much as it starts in the Horus Heresy, which takes place in the 31st millennium, before the Horus Heresy. What you have is a religious cult called the Mechanicum, who pray to the machine god. It's arguable about how much of this is an actual belief in a machine deity and how much of it is they build up a superstition to stop anyone interfering with the technology. Because if you control the technology, you control what goes on there. Yeah. So you have these cults which come up. So there's a certain amount of they will pray to the machine spirit and to the AI, but at the same time, certainly with a Mechanicum, they understand how it works and do it. It's very ritualistic in that sort of sense.
What I was just trying to say, and I'm probably getting in way over my head with asking stuff.
Ask away.
But it's like, how can you give a crew a skill of 4 if half of them don't know how the ship actually works?
Well, yeah, not only do half of them not only work, I mean, half of them have no sense of what the ship is. You know, they spend their entire lives in the bowels of this ship. They are born there, they work there, they die there. They never even see a window in some instances. But the command crew, the ones which are actually manning the ship, responsible for that sort of thing, the War Master and those ones, they very much know how the ship works and use it to deadly effect throughout there. Okay. I mean, it's a bit like saying Ensign Timmy doesn't necessarily know how the warp reactor works, but fortunately Geordie does most of the time, except in Generations.
But if
I suppose what we're getting at here is that are we taking an average, or are we going from the best members of the crew and giving the skill score according to that?
I've always gone by the ones that are actually running the ship, not everyone who's on the ship. So the guy with his, if you've got the best pilot at the helm, it's going to score very high for its maneuverability and like piloting sort of thing, rather than the average. I mean, I think with the Vengeful Spirit being the flagship, and again, I can't send you guys a load of books to read to back this statement up, but the ship is supposedly, in this world, the very best of the very best. The War Master was the favoured son of the Emperor. His representative, he had the pick of the entire crews of the Imperium, and he staffed it with the very best.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. I was just trying to square away you telling me that people didn't even know how this thing worked and were praying to it to even keep it going.
It's a strange duality. I mean, this is the strange duality of the Warhammer world in general. It is a world of medieval, demons and swords and knights in effect with big suits of armor.
To be fair, the demons are real. I mean, it's
yeah.
in universe. It's not like they're believing in demons and they aren't there like in the Middle Ages. So,
okay,
yeah, it's strange. Look, it makes sense in the universe.
Yes.
Okay.
So skill in universe 4, skill in reality, we might be knocking a few points off.
several points off.
Yeah.
Okay then, fine, cool. Well, we're down to coolness.
We're down to the coolness now. Well, for myself, I'm going to give it me 4 points, and I'm basing that off of not just the ship itself, but in how it's represented in the books. Every time it's in the book, it's a compelling story, even though Horus is the bad guy. If you read the first 3 books of the Horus Heresy series, the fall of Horus is in effect what the fall of Anakin should have been. It's well done. He starts off a very sympathetic character who you like, and when he finally succumbs, you legitimately feel tragically sorry about it. And the ship is a manifestation of that. It starts off as this gleaming symbol of hope for mankind, pushing the frontier out and reclaiming the galaxy for the glory of mankind. And over the course of the books, it's corrupted, but it's still, there's a presence about the ship. It's that whole thing about the ship is a character? We talk about it in Star Trek and all that.
Yeah.
The Vengeful Spirit is very much a character. In fact, one of the more recent books was called The Vengeful Spirit because a lot of it takes place on the ship and is about a raid on that. I won't go into details. Okay. But for myself, I'm going to give it me 4. Plus, I love the look of flying cathedrals because they're awesome.
Yeah. Okay, Pete.
It's a tough one because I don't really go for flying cathedrals, it has to be said.
Your profession.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't expect them to be lifting off, basically. I like my cathedrals to be very much planted on the ground. I mean, as flying cathedrals go, these are probably the best. I can't think of a better example. So I'm wavering between my 2 and my 3, really. But ultimately, it's not a design aesthetic that particularly is very pleasing. In fact, the 40k universe, it did take me a long while to get into it just because all the Gothic stylings isn't really a style I'm into. So, yeah, I think I'm going to give it a 2.
2. Okay. For me, I mean, I can only go by what I can see here and what you've described. Doesn't kind of jibe. It does kind of jibe a bit with what I'm seeing here. I'm kind of looking at this stuff, and it sounds all amazing. And then when I look at it, it just looks like a cross between a robotic penis and a snowplow.
Well, there's our title for the episode:
a robotic
penis and a snowplow.
I mean, I can appreciate it as a design ethic, and I can appreciate it as something that sits within the world. But if you were to say to me, "Do you think that's cool?" I don't. I don't think it's cool at all.
That's absolutely fine. That's what the coolness is about. It's what do you personally find cool?
Yeah.
And if you don't, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
No one can tell you that's wrong.
No. That's fair enough. And it reminds me a lot of sort of old westerns where they had armored steam trains and shit like that. And again, that's a lovely thing. But when I've just while you've been talking, I've been Googling through loads of images just to see whether or not I can actually, I don't know, see something.
I just sent you another one, which I think is like the definitive Battlefleet Gothic shot.
But that's just a big flying penis. I mean, that's...
Mate, I think you might want to go and see a doctor.
Really? Oh, God. I've got a problem.
I think you might.
No, I mean, to be honest, it's a lovely, grandiose thing. It has all the sort of vibe of something that you get from, like, I don't know, Nemesis the Warlock and all that kind of stuff. And I totally understand people's love for that design. But for me, it's... how can I put it? It doesn't evoke any emotion in me. It doesn't make me feel anything.
No, it doesn't float your boat.
Yeah,
no,
but that's absolutely fine. Look, you can give it your 1, and no one will judge you on that. I totally get that because it's so much harder with books, especially a book you haven't read. I mean, you're literally going cold. You don't have the evocative descriptions and all that, or the affinity with the world. So
yeah,
absolutely, mate. By all means, give it a 1, and no one shall think the worse of you.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to give it a 1, just simply because I think I've got no love for it. I've got nothing I see makes me go, "Ooh, it's horrible," but it's nothing.
You have
at
no
all.
frame of reference, Danny.
No, and that picture you give me is probably the best picture I've seen of any of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it still just looks like a snowplow with a big robotic penis on the back, and I tell you what it reminds me of in some ways. And I'm sorry if this sounds like I'm putting the boot in, but I'm not. But do you remember, you know, in Monty Python's The Meaning of Life?
Yes.
There's the opening scene, the opening skit with the life insurance pirates.
Yes.
And and basically what they do is
permanent assurance.
Exactly. And you get this whole scene of basically a house or a building with a basically a pirate flag on top.
So what you're saying is one day the Archbishop went to work sort of thing, had a bit of a falling out with the rest of the church, and off he went in his cathedral.
Yeah. He just put some engines on the bottom of it and off he flew.
Yeah.
So, that's it. I'm out of here. Peace out, says the Pope.
I'm all for anything which associates with Monty Python, so I'll take your one with pride, sir.
Yeah, so I'm apologies, but I am going to
Don't apologise, sir. No,
don't apologise, because
that's the one category that you can just say what you want and no one can judge you for it.
Okay. So there you go. Go on.
Plus, the way this thing has scored, it really doesn't matter.
Oh. Okay.
Because we have a new winner, folks.
Hi.
What,
are you saying the robotic penis with a snowplow did well?
Yes.
It did very well. It did 69 well.
69, dudes!
There you go. Gloriana Class.
The Vengeful Spirit. Yeah.
Vengeful Spirit. Full Spirit. I would be, I have to say, I would be very upset if that actually ends up winning by the end of the season. I really genuinely would.
It's all right. You've already mentioned what you want to bring in from books, and I'm pretty sure that's going to top it.
I think it might. I think it might. But to be quite honest, never mind. I mean, we can discuss that another time more off air. But there's wow, 69. Well done. Good work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
There you go. And now Dan and all the others,
and
Gareth,
and
everyone can all rest easy in their beds.
Put down your pitchforks, folks.
Yeah, we live to fight another day.
Yes, we recorded this entirely of our own volition, honestly.
Yes, honestly.
Yes.
I'm reading this from a prepared statement.
Quickly, play the theme soon, we can escape.
Yes, well, before we do that, though, firstly, I'd like to thank everyone for listening. But before we go, we have to do what our next set of films... Or what next set of... What am I talking about? We've got to do our next set of ships.
Yes, but something a little bit different for next week. In fact, you could say the antithesis of what we did this week.
Yes. Indeed. Yeah, yes. Definitely. Now, next week, the week after, in a fortnight's time...
At some point, at some undetermined point in the future.
Yes, indeterminate moment in the future. We will return with 3 ships, which are going to be science-based.
We have 4 ships, for we will have a special guest. Undisclosed at this time, but yes. We will, for the first time, have 4 ships.
4 ships. And we are going to be doing Science Bros.
For science?
For science. So,
of course! Don't you know anything about science?
Exactly. And so, I will be bringing the NASA explorer ship Hermes from The Martian.
Lee will be bringing the herpes, not for the first time.
Well, get some yogurt on that. It'll clear it right up.
I shall be bringing the Discovery from 2001 and indeed 2010.
Oh, yes. Excellent ship. And I shall be bringing the Icarus II from Sunshine. Hopefully none of us will be horribly murdered by some strange plot device halfway through the film. And our special guest, we mentioned it a couple of times tonight, but we'll be bringing the Endurance from Interstellar. Yes, we're going back to the black hole. So lock up your libraries, folks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. So that'll be it. That'll be 4 ships battling it out next time. The Endurance, the Hermes, the Icarus II, and the Discovery. So that's going to be an interesting one.
Do you want to recap the top 10 just for later on?
All right. No, everyone hates a gloater. But anyway, so we have, at 10, we have the USS Cygnus with 43 points. The X-Bomber's gone!
Yay!
It has. Yes, it's been buried.
At 9, we have Slave 1 with 43 points. At number 8, we have the White Star with 50 points. At number 7, we have the Agamemnon with 54. And the SOV Normandy SR1 sits at 57 points. Number 6, the USS Defiant has got 60 points and sits at number 5. And at number 4, we have the SSD Executor with 62 points. The Battlestar Pegasus has 64 points and is at 3rd place. 2nd place, we have the Borg Cube with 67 points. And sitting pretty at the top, looking ugly, is the Gloriana Vengeful Spirit with 60.
We're all too scared of it. So
69.
For that
Scared of what it'll do to us.
Yeah. So, there you go. Will any of our science bros...
No, they won't. They won't.
No.
Let's just be honest.
Let's be honest.
They won't.
They won't.
Yes. Weaponry is not going to feature very high here.
Weaponry and shields is just forget it.
No, and I don't think science is really going to feature much either.
I don't know. I think crew competence will.
Crew competence will, yes.
Depends if you count the computer systems.
Well, not for the endurance, but, for the others, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, don't go quietly into that good night. Shut up! Rage. Oh, God.
Rage against the machine.
Rage. Ring of fire. All right.
Master Wayne. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
I've buried too many people, Master Wayne. I've buried too many people. Oh, God. Anyway.
I'll have to watch that again.
No, don't need to. Just, no.
No, the poor sap who's volunteered to it has to.
Yeah. Just make sure you turn the sound down a bit when Hans falls asleep on the organ. Well, I've got the very thing for that.
Could have been worse. Could have been Inception.
Oh, God.
It's true.
Yeah. Anyway, right. So, thank you guys for joining me.
Oh, thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And yes, to all of you listening, thank you again. Do join us on our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/SpaceDocJury. And don't forget, we've also got a Twitter account, which is @SpaceDocJury. And do drop over on iTunes and give us a review, because that would be...
We do like a good review.
That would be lovely.
It would be, yes.
We're not people demanding things, but give us a fucking review. Anyway, so until next time, when we return with a mini-sode, and after that with our Science Bros ships, we'll see you all soon. So take care. Tatty bye.
Cheery bye.
Ta-ta.
Space Doc Jury is a production of 3 Angry Beards for GeekPlanetOnline.com.